and we're back. That Saints podcast for 2024, recording at Ruskin Drive Sports Centre in the Sticky Wicket, with thanks to John Rees and the Piltrack lads for use of the facilities. We probably don't need any introductions, but I'm Graham Cunliffe here with Steve Orford and Aidy O'Sullivan, and Steve Beach as usual on the buttons. Thanks, Steve. Nice to see you. Happy New Year. He put his thumbs up. And we've got some new blood this year. You'll be hearing from a couple of lads, Paul Rigby and Darren Rigby. You are related, I believe, lads.
Yes, we are. We're brothers.
Okay, Paul, how long have you been watching the Saints, mate?
Lifelong Saint fan. Last 37 years, so yeah, had some good years, obviously, and watched some good success.
Darren, when did you first start watching the Saints, mate?
Slightly less, only because I'm younger. Yeah, 34 years. So yeah.
Oh, you don't look that old. There we go. So me and Aid have been watching Saints since God was a lad, and Steve.
About 35 years, yeah.
35 years, pretty good.
I'm a bit older than that, obviously, but yeah, since about 8 or 10 maybe.
43 years. But I'm not as good as Graham.
I did 60 last year. Yeah, 60 years from the first game. There we go. And as always, we'll got a packed show for you. To the agenda tonight, we're going to have a look at Saints, the pre-season, the changes, and what we think of the squads. We'll have a look at some of the changes to our main rivals, who I've classed as Wigan, Leeds and Catalans. We'll have a look at some rule changes and law amendments, and we'll do our predictions for the coming season. We'll have a little look at the World Club Challenge and the broadcast deal. So, first up, a new season for Saints. We've lost the GOAT. The GOAT retired last year, James Roby. LMS has gone. Will Hopoate has gone. And we've gained 3 new players. The 2 worst kept secrets in Super League last year, Daryl Clark and Matt Whitley. And I've got him down as Wacker Blake. I'm not sure that's right, is it?
I believe it's Wonga.
Is it Wonga?
Yeah.
Well, there was a good sponsorship deal to be done a few years ago there, wasn't there?
According to the NRL commentators, anyway, I've been calling him Wonga for years, so. Fair enough.
And Saints have promoted a number of youngsters. I think at the back end of last season we had a list of lads that had been released, and there's a bunch of lads that have been added to the squad for this year. Jake Burns, Ben Lane, Mackenzie Buckley, Dayon Sambu, Will Roberts, Johnny Vaughan, who's had to give up his TV commitments, Noah Stevens and Leon Cowan. So thoughts, lads. First of all, I'll throw it open to the panel. Thoughts on the lads that have left?
The lads that have left, for me, Hopoate and LMS, I'm not asked about them two, to be quite honest.
So I'll say what you think,
LMS, well, LMS, I think he was great at tub thumping and banging his chest, but I think his best was a few years ago. Hopoate could kind of show what he was about when he was fit, but we can't afford to carry people for like half a dozen good matches a year. Robes, obviously you're losing the GOAT as you refer to him, or second place GOAT in my eyes behind King Kieran, to be honest.
I was going to make that point.
That's another.
I was going to say the GOAT retired in 2010.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
I've got over it by now.
Yeah, it's not really a debate, Graham. Come on. Let's not go there again.
I'm not rising to that challenge. You've got a packed show to get on with it, mate.
But I think Daryl Clark is tailor-made, as close as we're ever going to get as a replacement for Robes. We're not going to replace him. You couldn't replace Kieran, you can't replace Robes, but to fill those shoes, I don't think there's anybody better than Daz Clark. Been a massive fan for many years. I think the last 3 or 4 years he's ripped us a new one every time we've played Wire.
Yeah, if you haven't picked in a 9 to replace Roby, then Clark's up there, isn't he? Possibly Danny Walker as well. I think Danny Walker and Clark, like you've just said then, every time we played Warrington, them two made a massive difference and punched holes right down the middle of us.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Paul. I always liked Danny Walker as well, but Wire made their choice and they've gone with Walker, let Daz Clark go, and pleased with that. Pleased with Whitley. We'll come to that in it. The youngsters, I know Noah's pretty good from the highlights of what we saw, or those that went to the Salford friendly. Dayon looks a decent player. Mackenzie Buckley, is a deep. But again, they're all youngsters. They'll get the chance, and we'll see how they go. But the 3 main signings and the 3 departures, I think Robes. As harsh as it is to say, I don't know if there was a little bit of sentiment in him doing another season. You know, he got the records, which would never ever begrudge him, but he was only a fraction.
And I know he had big surgery very soon after leaving.
Well, we were shocked when we saw him, Graham. We saw him at Saints, didn't we? Literally 2 weeks after the season had finished, and the lad he'd just had the hip replacement, whatever it was he'd had. But no, for my part, I'm delighted with the 3 main signings, and I can't wait to see him go in and keep Daz Clark fit. I think we win stuff. I think it's that big.
Yeah, your thoughts, Paul, Darren, you?
I'm exactly the same. I think if you're looking at 3 signings, I was an LMS fan, to be fair. No, he wasn't, but I didn't like him.
I thought he brought something to the changing room as well. LMS, didn't he? Brought that
Butties.
I was going to say, was it oranges?
Buffoonery. I think what Saints have done quite well over the years, like Conrad at the minute, you can see how much of a character is in the changing room. They've had LMS, so one at a time they're going to obviously phase out, but we're keeping, I think we kept LMS for a reason, and that was, he was playing well on the field for me, and he had a lot to do off the field as well in the changing room. But no, back to Whitley and Blake. I've not seen a great deal of Blake, to be fair. I've seen his highlights, and when he was playing for Fiji, I watched the Fiji games. It looks exciting. I am intrigued to see where he's going to play, because I know we've signed him as a centre, but if we're at full strength, is our strongest backline Wellesby, Blake and Meekins on the wings with Conrad and Percy at centres? I'm not sure. So will Blake play on the wing or will he play centre? Because if Conrad's on form, again, Conrad's a very similar player to LMS, you either love him or hate him. But for me, when Conrad fits and he's barging down that centre, he'll be in my team straight away. So,
Steve, have you seen anything of Blake?
Oh yeah, on the NRL, the TV for over the last few years. He's was out of favour, I think, a bit this year, but I mean, he's a goes back to the kind of old school traditional Saints type of player. He's got a mistake in him, but he's exciting to watch, which is what we like, or we traditionally used to like before we became, you know, what we've been in more recent years of winning. A winning machine, Eddie, what I'm going to say, a winning machine. So yeah, I think he'll do well, but I think he will, you know, be times when he'll frustrate fans as well. There's a bit of both in him. But I think you're right, Paul. One of those players will be playing on the wing, one of those centres, and that could be at the expense of one of Eddie's favourites, young Benison, who I would like to see find a place in 17 for, but I'm not sure if we're at our best that will be the case.
What I'd hate to see with Ben O'Stee is for him not to get a regular spot and him go somewhere else and then do it, because I can't recall him. He's never let us down.
No, he's solid.
He's not got pace, but he's good at beating a man. He's a great tackler. He's safe as houses under the eyeball, but he's not an out-and-out wing.
I don't think he starts as a centre or a winger in this squad. And if he's a fullback, well, that involves moving Wellesby to the halves, which probably won't happen until Lomax retires.
I was going to say, it gives Benno is that safety factor for covering. Because if there's any injuries in key positions, let's say the halves, or even, dare I say, if a certain scrum half doesn't play his part, then let him...
Were you going to say pull his finger out?
let him have a minute in the stands and then put Jack in the halves, and Benno, I'm more than comfortable with Benno at full back because I know he's safe.
Do we think we've signed Blake as a centre, though? Because we left that number 3 shirt.
That is what he is, what he's been playing in for Parramatta.
But if he's a centre, does he play centre? Does he get in before Hurrell in the first 13?
Over Hurrell for me, does he?
I think so, yeah. I think Hurrell's probably going to be our backup bench centre, if you like.
But because we haven't got that winger, I think they'll play.
But it depends, obviously. Last year we had a stinker with injuries, didn't we? You know, I can't remember a game where we actually had, you know,
first
choice centres to actually pick from. So depending on how that goes, hopefully we'll have a bit of luck in that department. But yeah, I think Hurrell's got to be looking at sort of like a bench / you know, sitting in the stands.
I think if he plays against Catalan last year in the playoffs, I think it's a completely different game.
Do you know, Gaz says that. Gaz, who's Norway, was in Spain again. He was banging on about that money, Gaz. He said that if Hurrell played at Catalan, we win.
I do like
his
him.
field last year, didn't he? He had an absolute nightmare, but he still set Makinson up for 2 tries, and
He won us the game.
he won us the game.
Won us the
An
game,
absolute
and-
nightmare, but he still won us the game. And I just think a player, when he's on song, I think you can't leave him out. Not many defenders can. Do you know what I mean? They can like playing against Conrad.
Do you think that we've got? It's like there's an insurance value in this because of Percy's troublesome legs.
Well, personally, I believe he's not going to start the season, is he?
Because
So,
I mean, I don't think there's a question that we'd all agree that when he's fit, Percy is the best centre in the league by a mile.
Yeah.
I do,
By
yeah.
a mile.
Yeah,
But he doesn't have some leg
We've
troubles.
seen the best of him last year when he changed sides and he put Makinson in. There was no, do you know what I mean, Makinson ended up almost finishing top try scorer, and that's because Percival was on his side, because years before he was playing the wrong side for me, because if you notice, he didn't really pass, he always cut back inside.
I think they were compensating there, Paul, when he was on the same side as Regan, you mean?
Yeah.
I think it was because Percy and Tommy were that good at that point, having them on the same side was leaving you. It's an imbalance in the team, because we were so strong on that right edge then.
But as good as he is, sometimes in the past, he's not passed the ball to his wingers much. But last year, he's changed sides, and it's no coincidence that Makinson's almost top try. I know last year it was Miski and Johnson, weren't they? But Makinson were on the tails, weren't they?
Do you think you might have a part there of, with Tommy being outside him and Tommy being the kind of player he is, vocal,
Possibly, yeah.
demanding, running the team, that when he had Regan or whoever outside him, whether it be whoever, they're not going to give him, like, I mean, if Tommy wants it from you, he's going to let you know
Yeah,
he wants
It's
it.
a trust
Let you know he
issue, I
wants
think.
it. Yeah.
I think he trusts Meganton as much as he trusts himself.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he trusted Regan as much as he trusted himself.
Yeah, which is justified, I think. See, that brings, like, when you say about Tommy, I hope he's had a good rest, because I thought the last couple of months of last season, he looked battered, Tommy Macon. And
He's
I think
absolutely hammered week
I think
after
that
week.
was the poorest run of displays I've ever seen from Tommy Makinson, but he literally looked like he was battered. He looked like there was
But
bits
he
falling
always
off
gives
him.
100% though, doesn't he? You know,
Yeah.
man.
Because he's taking the first carry-in or the second carry-in every set.
He's been a battering
He's
on
a
for 10
bloody
years,
winger.
hasn't he?
What are we doing? Like,
This is a point we've discussed many times. Do you think the injuries now and the wear and tear on the likes of Percy and Tommy are because of the style of the game that we have had them running in at 50 miles, 60 miles an hour at the forwards, returning the ball all the time, that they're finally suffering for it?
I think Percy's suffered for a long while. I mean, how many times have we sat around a table like this after a weekend and Percy takes that ball? I mean, even when you're at the match, I don't know about you boys, but when we're all at the match and you see Percy carrying it in and he's running into prop forwards like Sam Cassiano.
You're almost grimacing,
and you're
aren't you?
yeah,
Like,
exactly
you're
that,
grimacing,
Darren.
you're like, oh.
Exactly that, Dad. And it's like, oh, Percy, don't. Why are you doing that? And Gaz sits there at the matches and he's screaming, come on forwards, that's your job. But Percy's got the heart of a lion. When he ends up, he's almost too brave for his own body.
Well, I played his golf day and I suggested that he ran in the gaps to him in a chat I was having, and I don't think he quite got the hang of that
But
one.
I suppose he only knows one way, and if you do go in that fast, you're injured, don't you? So he might as well run 100 miles an hour.
Here's a question. Matt Whitley, does he get in the starting 13?
He does if you move Metaltia or Knowles to prop forward, he might do. But if they're still in the back row, then I don't think he does. No. When we signed him, I thought, why are we signing another back rower? We've got about 17 really good back rowers. We don't need another one.
I would have gone for a prop if I was signing, but I am made up with Whitley because I think he's a fantastic player. But I was a bit surprised that we didn't go for a prop forward instead.
But I looked at his record, he's had a lot of games for Catalan at centre as well.
Not for me.
So covering, yeah.
Yeah, he's done a lot of covering there.
Well, you see, that's what Rush was on about, isn't it, when it came to signing a centre. He wanted a centre stroke winger rather than a centre stroke second rower.
Yeah.
But if you get a second rower who can, I mean, people think it's an easy switch from second row to centre, and I mean, Paul's played a lot of rugby. Lee Gilmore did. Lee Gilmore was an exception to the rule. He was freakishly good
Yeah, he was fantastic.
being able to switch from a second rower to a centre. But touching on what Steve's just said there about the props, I'd love to see Morgan Knowles move up to prop forward.
I would, because then on the back of that, I'm a massive James Bell fan, and
100%.
James Bell at loose forward is so much more better than playing at second row. Because at second row, I feel like you don't see ball in hand here, but when he's at loose, he feels like he's a completely different player.
He's more like a loose forward than Morgan Knowles. I've always been a big Morgan Knowles fan, but it's almost because the loose forward has since the days of Faz and Scully, the loose forwards has almost become like another second row.
Another prop in times, isn't
Well,
it?
Knowles is going to do exactly the same at loose as he is at prop or vice versa. I mean, he's not going to change his game plan, just go hard.
And I think it gives us. I'd like to see us. I think the last few years, I think we've been boring. We've not been great to
I've been
watch.
saying it for years, but
Even the Wolf, like,
every time you say that and we win, you get told shut up. Shut up.
Well, Steve coined the expression wolf ball. Steve coined the expression wolf ball, and that's exactly what it
when
was.
we're winning, obviously, you're winning games, but it's so boring to watch. And it's like, then your argument is, well, we're winning, what are you complaining at? But
I don't think other teams have had the team to beat us though in previous seasons. As of last season though, like to Wigan, they upped the game. And, you know, they learned how
other teams have had to do that now because otherwise we were just going to run away with it, weren't we? So they've had to do that. But again, you could, I think we discussed it last week, you could throw the same shirt over a lot of the top teams and they all play exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And literally just at different runners.
Percentage rugby.
You've got
It's
a
just
handful of
percentage
teams
rugby.
there, OKR, Lee, Salford, who play expansive rugby and are really attractive to watch. But then you've got the argument, well, yeah, they're either 1 week they're fantastic and next week they'll get battered, but they are entertaining to watch.
We've always been OKR fans, haven't we? We've always loved the way, since when Tony Smith went there, the way OKR played.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff Salford played last couple of years.
Salford on their budget each year, I think they're getting written off this year. I think some of the players are brought in there are very, very good signings, and I won't be surprised to see them throw the ball about and entertain and still be pushing the top six this year.
There'll be days when they absolutely batter people, but the depth I worry about with Salford.
You see, I think, like when we're going on about with the forwards, I love the idea of us having a more mobile pack with Morgan, Daz, Clark, Matty starting and Big Al on the bench. Unless you're playing, let's use Catalan as the shining example, where you need that massive battering ram. But Big Al's got a lot of mileage in him now, and it's a big body to be getting pounded every week like that. I just think that maybe if we was quicker and more mobile, Bell at 13, the choice of second rowers were spoiled. We've got a huge choice.
You've got so many options there.
We might need them with the new rules and our propensity to pick up suspensions.
Last year, we were questioning why we had 4 back rowers, but Sheridan and Knowles spent half of the beginning of the year banned, didn't they? So there's probably a reason why we've signed another couple of back rowers just in case.
It's right, isn't it? It's right, but I agree with you about Bell at loose forward. But I think we need to speed the whole game. I think Darryl Clark will give us that impetus. He will speed it up around because that's his game.
Well, that's his game, and I think towards the back end of Rose's career, he wasn't making those darting runs from play the balls and cracking on.
No, he looked like he was treading in treacle, didn't he? A lot of the times.
But like you said, a lot of teams going on to Catalan, who went to Catalan last year and won. Warrington went there, Wigan went there. They're all about speed. The speed Warrington have, the speed Wigan have. So the more mobile we go. If Saints play rugby, no team touch us. No, that's the frustrating thing about it. But the last few years, it's been like 4 drives and a kick, or we'll just throw the ball around.
I think, Paul, if our defensive structures are solid, nobody beats us. But when our defensive structures fail, we've nothing else. It's all built on that defensive structure because, right, we'll score 18 points because we're not very attacking, but you're only going to score 10. But when that defensive structure fails, and like you say, I've said that myself, you called it right, with Catalan, it's the speed that's beats them. It's the speed of Wigan, it's the speed of Warrington. Graham, you mentioned before about Leeds being one. I think Warrington more of a challenger than Leeds, to be honest.
This season?
Well, we'll come off that now.
That's not saying that Warrington are going to win it, it's just my opinion of Leeds, the most arrogant club in rugby league. Despise Leeds.
That's on their website, isn't it?
Yeah, the most arrogant club. The most arrogant after the Penrith Panthers. Sorry, Graham.
Interesting though. Look, at Saints have only made 3 changes, but we have made by far the least changes of any of the what I consider our major rivals this year. So have a quick look at them one by one. Wigan have lost KPP, he's gone to Newcastle. Toby King's gone back to Warrington. Kay Cust, Morgan Smithies, Joe Shorrock, Sam Powell and Ian Thornley have left, and they've brought in Cruz Lehman, Sam Walker, Tiki Chan, Adam Kieran, Luke Thompson and I nearly said Peter Masarati then, he's left Warrington, and Sam Essay from Wakefield. Now, have Wigan strengthened there or not?
I think so, 100%.
I think they've strengthened with what they've had last season.
You just talked about players like Thornley going in, replacing him with Kieran from Catalan. That's like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You're talking about good sense before he was head and shoulders above most last year.
I think the lad they signed back end of last season, was it Tyler Dupree? I think
the weakness we always said was the front row, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They had just a bunch of like thugs, and now they've got
Walters and Thompson coming in.
Thompson, Sam Walters, Dupree, like you mentioned. That's a proper front row, isn't it?
absolutely.
The last couple of years, that's where Wigan's lacked in it in the forwards, because they've always had a decent back line, but they've just not got forwards.
And then you got Cruz leaving as well to add to that.
The other thing they've lacked badly is a goal kicker, and they've just signed one of the best kickers in the league. And again, we've been missing a goal kicker, we've been needing a centre, we need prop forwards, and they've signed everything we need.
Harry Smith.
Most of them for free. I would imagine you'd give it to Kieran on percentages of last season, because his kick percentage, Harry Smith's was down as low as 60%, where Kieran's is always high 70s, low 80s.
Makes a big difference in the tight games anyway.
I've put Harry Smith in my fantasy team for his kicking, so I might have to rethink that.
Yeah, but I bet it was cheap.
On the other score, any team that loses Morgan Smithies must have strengthened.
And Toby King, I mean, shifting him back to Mornington's a bonus, isn't it?
Well, I think his loan ran out, didn't it?
That was a fantastic deal on Wigan's part.
I was going to say,
Great bit of business there.
I think Radlinski's had a storming off-season, hasn't he? he's man of steel of the off-season.
Poor old Toby. There's worse players than Toby, but yeah.
There was a question I have about Wigan. Does Matty Pete make them a bit more likeable?
No.
Do you know?
I'm struggling with this, to be
when
honest.
Adrian Lamb was crying in the 2020 grand final, there wasn't anything more pleasing. I was absolutely delighted, because I just didn't like the guy. I just didn't like him because he never give, a bit like Sean Wayne, never give Saints any praise at all.
Yeah.
Never give the opposition any praise. It's not even about being a Saints fan. It's just about being a rugby fan.
Yeah.
And when Matty Pete came in, we went to a fans forum at Billings, didn't we? And there was Paul Wellens there was Matty Pete, and there was a couple of players there. LMS and Singleton. No sense between them, but it was a good night. And Matty Pete, from that night, I actually liked him as a person, because he spoke well. He spoke well about the opposition. If Wigan weren't playing well, he'd say, "Do you know what? We weren't great that night." He wouldn't blame the refs, he wouldn't blame the pitch, he wouldn't blame that Wigan Athletic had been playing there the night before, whatever it was. He'd literally praise, and he always said we need to be Saints about the culture, because at the time Saints were head and shoulders above everyone else. And to be fair to him, he's got them there. He has got them there last season.
He's got them there playing good stuff, and I think when you say, does it make Wigan more likeable? No, it certainly doesn't.
It doesn't make Wigan more likeable, but it makes him more.
That's reassuring. It's just Matty Pete that's likeable.
I don't mind.
Gutsy, again, another gutsy decision by Radlinski there. Giving him the job.
Yeah.
I mean, he's well grounded in the local amateur game. I mean, and Beach will back me up on that there. He's known, especially in the Wigan scene, obviously, but he's so grounded in the local game and the youth development side of things. He's just a good bloke.
Look what they've done over the road at Robin Park. Before the game, I think Saints could do something like that. Get ex-players in speaking. They've got the bar going. We've got the Red V bar there, but
Saints massively
we're lacking something on match days, and Wigan's got that now.
And you know what, as well, whenever we have the odd game on a Sunday afternoon, and it becomes an almost unofficial fan zone, but the away fans get on that grass outside. We've got all that room in between the supermarket and the stadium, and on a sunny afternoon, I'll just put things on there.
They did a few things for the World Cup, and then it was brilliant. And like you said, there was things for the kids to do, the grown-ups to have a pint.
But Wigan's got that now.
We only did it when it was the World Cup games, but like you said, we can do it week in, week out. There's other teams. We went to Salford last year when we met you, Aidy. And
Salford's always a brilliant.
Literally, big fan zone outside.
OKR. Is it called Market Street or whatever they call it, or Craven Street at Market?
Well, it's just a demolished end of the ground where they put a tent up, really. But
even Castleford.
It is part of what's got their fans and supporters coming in before the game and keeping the money in the club rather than the pubs. Yeah.
The Salford thing, as Paul said there, when you go to Salford now for an away match, we must have bumped into you an hour and a half before the match. And the amount of people
there's something to do, isn't there?
There's tons to do outside. There's stuff for there's fairgrounds going on. There's kids everywhere. and it's marvellous.
Well, next time I'm not parking on the airport and walking for an hour to the ground.
They utilise the space they've got.
There's
And
a
they do it
bar,
well.
there's screens up watching old games, etc., watching ex-players and somebody, like I said, cup finals, etc., not even involving Salford, but they had them on and people turned up because there was something on prior to the game. But Saints just lack that on game day, because we meet at the cricketers in Helens and then walk down. But if there was something close to the ground or something on, you'd meet there, have a pint, meet up with your gang you stand with or sit with, and have a couple of pints and then go into the ground. But there's nothing there before, and I just think Saints are missing out. When they played Tonga in the off season, England played Tonga. There was only half the bars open. We were speaking to Castleford fans and Leeds fans, asking where can they go for a pint and what they do before the games, etc. Like there a couple of hours before, and there was nothing to do, nothing at all. And I just think Saints are missing. They do so many good things, but I just think that's the only thing they're lacking on at the minute.
The game day thing at Saints isn't up at where some of these other clubs are now.
Most of our games are Friday nights on work nights, aren't they? So it's a bit tricky that, to be fair.
If you walk through town on a Friday night, most of the pubs are busy and people walk to the ground like 7:30, 7.
Yeah.
But again, if you put something on closer to the ground or outside the ground, X10 Red V Bar or something, or put a marquee outside Red V Bar and have the.
But you can't get a pint full of it. Takes you 15 minutes to get a pint.
You turn up and like I said, there's about 4 staff on. Again, under the turnstiles, we're in the west stand. Sometimes you have like pints pre-poured and just like literally, so the turnstiles open and the queues. You're half an hour for a pint, aren't you? When they could turn things around and make a lot more money.
You want to support the club, but it makes it hard to support the club.
Okay, let's bring it back to the
especially when they're boarding on the pitch as well.
You need a few pints to get over it.
You watch through a haze. Right. Let's have a look at Warrington Wolves. Right, the out is Darryl Clark, obviously, over to Saints. Peter Matautia, Greg Minikin, Sam Cassiano, and Thomas McKayley, wasn't quite sure.
Apart from Clark there, that's a great bit of business from Warrington.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is Dudson not gone yet?
No, I don't think he has. Not on the list, anyway. In has come Wes Bruns from Saints. I thought that was a bit of an odd one. Jordan Crowther, I think, was on loan there last year. Sam Powell from Wigan. Brad Dwyer from Hull. Lachlan Fitzgibbon from Newcastle Knights. Toby King, obviously, back off his loan. Rod Tye, who I've not heard of, but from PNG Hunters. And Zane Musgrove, sorry, couldn't have gone right in there. Now, on the face of that, I think that must be construed as an improvement. And the new coach, of course, and Sam Burgess. But I think, like with everything with Warrington, it'll be, let's have a look at it halfway through the season.
I think they've lost the best player. I think we've took the best player they've got.
I don't have doubts about that.
It's interesting that they've signed 2 hookers.
I was going to, yeah.
They've signed Dwyer and Powell.
Sam Powell.
And they've still got Danny Walker, I believe. So they're going to have 3 guys who played in that position.
Wasn't Dwyer signed before Burgess come in? Because Salford were linked with Dwyer, haven't they, before he even played a game for him? I don't think he played any pre-season friendlies.
You don't think he'll get a game, or...?
I like Dwyer. I think he's a good player, but it's how are you going to work out that? How are you going to play? Walker's going to start, you'd imagine, wouldn't you? And then Powell.
Well, they haven't signed Powell for nothing, have they?
He's not going to be on peanuts. He's going to be on a decent wage, and you'd expect them to play unless Dwyer fills in at 13 or something. But again, it's how they work that out.
And on a Toby King theme, getting Matautia to retire is an absolute doozy of a bit of business. How did he carry on getting a game for so long? And Super League, I'll never know.
I think one of the big things for Wire will be the Burgess thing. It's either going to be a masterstroke or a disaster stroke.
The only question mark I have over what they're doing is bringing a coach in who's not really been a head coach before, and has got a
and he's a bit bonkers.
That's the most important thing, is can he change the culture?
Yeah, and he is a bit
the problem is
bonkers.
not the talent level at times, it's the culture.
I think with Warrington, they every season they just seem to try something new. Like, last season they went with all the big signings, it didn't work. They got rid of Powell. So this season they signed, right, okay, we'll sign Burgess, no one knows what he can do, but we'll give it a go. And I think for Warrington, they look at Saints, they look at Wigan, they look at Leeds, they look at all the other teams, and then they try and like steal bits from each team instead of going, right, this is our plan, this is our 5-year plan, we're going to start from there and we're going to develop our own players. Because the amount of times Saints, Wigan, even Leeds, they rob their academy players products from Warrington that are coming through the likes of West Bank, you know, and all the other amateur teams.
It worked from last year. Well, first year under Powell, they were atrocious, weren't they? And they stuck by him. And then beginning of last season, you think, right, Powell's had a season to get settled in. Beginning of last season, was it 11 out of 11 they won? And you think, right, it could be their year this year. And then all of a sudden
they all get excited. Powell goes into a pub, starts chanting Warrington songs, and it all goes downhill from there, doesn't it?
So you blaming Powell singing?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Hubris, terrible thing.
You know, it's all over Twitter going, yeah, we're going to win the league. And, you
Won
know.
it in March, I believe, last year.
Yeah, wasn't it King's Head across road, I think it was, that he was in.
He didn't help himself, did
One
he?
thing about Burgess, apparently, obviously they played Lee in the pre-season warm-up game and obviously lost. And in the post-match sort of interviews, etc., Burgess was being questioned by the Warrington Guardian correspondent, obviously, that covers the sport, and it was grilling him is a bit of a harsh word, but was asking him a lot of questions about it, and he got quite tetchy, from what I can gather. Back to his own.
I've heard he's got quite the temper.
Yeah, so I think if he comes under a bit of pressure, then that's going to be very, very interesting to watch how he goes.
Well, I read something today that isn't he already talking about he wants his career to be in the NRL again as a coach. So, you know, even that, it's starting the season, not played one game, and he's already talking about bigger things. It's like just, you know, it's Warrington all over. It's Warrington all over.
It's so Warrington, that is so Warrington, isn't it? Yeah.
But it also like makes you chuckle when you're reading these articles, like, not again. Just
I was surprised. His brother ended up at Huddersfield. I thought he was going to be guaranteed if Sam was there long term at Warrington that Tom would end up there as well, but obviously he's ended up at Huddersfield, hasn't he?
I believe he's on a good wage.
I can imagine, so yeah.
He's not coming till next year, though, is he? Is that right?
Sorry?
Next year?
Yeah, next year.
25.
Yeah.
By which time he'll be about 34, I think. That's and again, it's got a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
be interesting to see what Warrington can do this year.
I think that I thought to an extent last year as well that we've got to be really on the verge of our last hurrah with a number of these players. I think I was reading some of your work, Steve. We've got 8-9 players over 30 now.
We have, and 3 more that are turning 30 this year.
So for this coming season, I don't know whether it's like the last hurrah of our squad as a group, and then we've got the new Wigan squad. With the changes Catalans have had, in reality, it should really be it should be a 2-horse race, shouldn't we?
Well, we'll come to that in a sec, Eddie. Personally, for me, I think Warrington should have just signed a psychiatrist, and and that would have been the best signing they could have made.
There's definitely a cultural issue at Warrington. I think they'll be in the playoffs though, so I think they'll do all right.
I think Burgess will drag them there.
They've just always got on any match that one thing is that speed. They are still. What's
speed.
the young centre again? What's the young? Is it not? Is it Thewlis? Is it?
Thewlis and Wrench.
Thewlis.
And they've got Matty Ashton.
Matty Ashton.
Duff.
They are so quick. They are so fast. And that's
He's quick, but defensively he's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
I am surprised though. Ratford's playing again. I think like he could. For me, he went one season too long last year. For them, they need a good, like, they've been having a sort out. I'm not a Ratford fan of them.
Do you know what, Paul? Do you know what, mate? I've said this for years. I don't think Warrington have ever found his right position. I think he's been one of the most talented players.
100%.
And when it comes to broken play, open field rugby, when it's off the cuff, I think he's one of the most dangerous. But they've had him at full back, they've had him at 6, they've had him at 4, they've had him at 13. And I think at some point when he's retired, Stephen Ratford, he'll look back and think, well, cheers, Warrington, you've really wasted my career.
He's had a great,
Absolutely wasted his career because they've never settled him in one place.
Where would you play him?
He was their best full-back, he was their best number. Where would I play him? I always liked him as a full-back. Because I think he was intelligent, supremely intelligent.
And then you wouldn't need to spend a massive wedge on Dufty then, would you?
But I didn't watch him every week. Stay, as you know, I've got, you know as well, that people who go watching Warrington every week, and they've said pretty much the same thing. They've lost the best player to us, and Ratchford's never played in his right position. They don't, should I say, they've never found his right position. You know, which is a shame when you look at the talent the lad's got.
Arguably too many changes of coaches for him, and they've all. There's a new coach every couple of years having a look at what they think about him and never finding. He never got the chance to say that's
It's a
what I
really
want to play.
difficult job because expectations, despite the history, are still sky high.
It
somehow.
shows you how difficult it is when all these clubs try to follow our mate Tony Smith done it. Everywhere Tony Smith goes, he works wonders, but then Warrington have just been a basket case since Tony Smith.
Eddie and I are the two members of the Tony Smith fan club.
Yeah, we like Tony Smith down. I'd love to have seen him at Saints, Steve.
Yeah.
I'd love to have seen what he could have done with some of these squads we've had in the last 5 to 10 years.
Well, it might happen one day, Eddie, you never know.
Incredible coach.
All right, let's have a quick look at Leeds then. Out have gone Blake Austin, Aidan Caesar, Zane Tetivano, Sam Walters, Liam Tyndall and Neen McDonald. And they brought in Matt Frawley, Gudamon from Catalans, Lachlan Miller from Newcastle Knights, Paul Mavrovsky, yeah. I'm going to stop printing next week.
It's like a computer.
Brody Croft and Andy Ackers. Well, I think we can safely say they've strengthened.
100%.
Yeah. But the one area where I would worry about them is the back, the front row in particular. There's not a huge amount. Letting Walters, well, he went, I suppose he forced that move through himself, but letting him go is a massive blow to them. They need to get Aletsky fit and firing and on form. Last year he had a bit of a dodgy season because of his dodgy shoulder. So they need to get him back on form, I think. But at the backs, Croft, I mean, Croft's one of the best half-backs running around in the league, and so he'll
I think they've chucked out Austin and Caesar. They didn't get anything out of, in my opinion, for the.
I would question Frawley though. I think that's a bizarre signing.
It is an odd one for me
Because he's been there before and done nothing. I don't know what they're showing him really.
I think you talk about Warrington and the culture there. I think Leeds have got a massive culture problem. And I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But since the likes of Sinfield, Burrows, Maguire, all of them left.
Well, they've got this sort of. It's outright. We're one of the best clubs. We're the best club, and
Arrogance is the word you're looking for.
A lot of people criticise Saints when the likes of we went through the same with losing Cunningham, Sculthorpe, Long. List goes on. But there was. I don't think there was one year where we finished outside the top 3 in the league. In them years where we were transitioning. Leeds have been near on relegation in their transition period. Still not.
I think you've got to give on that. You've got to give. Kudos to Mike Rush. I think he's done an amazing job when Leeds just had the enormous fluke, similar to Manchester United in football, of getting a generation of players all at the same time. They had it for 8 or 9 years. It was all the same players. What Saints have done, and so Eamon and Mike Rush and the rest is, we're getting on for 30 years now. We're getting on for 30 years of consistently winning championships, winning cups, and I think Leeds was just a lucky generational thing. I really do, because some of the, like you say, the culture issues. When Sam Walters just didn't want to be there, just point blank, no, I don't want to be there, and he's not the first one in recent years that said I don't want to be there.
Well, I was surprised to see Harry Newman sign a new deal.
Well, that looked tricky for a while.
I thought he'd be coming to Saints.
I think that might have been because he didn't get an offer from anywhere else. Well, or a bigger offer from anywhere else.
It's fantastic talent, but he doesn't help himself off the field, does he? That's the only issue.
No, he's a tit.
It's on his Wikipedia page, isn't it?
Well, no, I think the challenge is here, Leeds. I do think they've recruited really well, and what they've got this year is a decent spine of the team. I think
they'll be in the top 5 come the end of the season, easy.
Top 4, mate.
Possibly.
Outside backs, I think have recruited well, and I think Hanley will be. If Hanley finishes some tries like he has done in past years, he's never too far off the top try scorers, is he?
What's concern is in this farcical system that we play these days, that you only have to finish 5th and you've every chance of winning the whole lot, which is ludicrous. It's absolutely, and they've been the masters.
Done that twice, haven't they?
They've been the masters at it. They've been. I think they've only won the League Leaders Shield 3 times, and yet they've won 8 Super Leagues, whatever they've won.
I think it's 8, I think it is.
8, and they've only finished top 3 times. which shows how skewed the system is.
Bonkers.
You just don't know what you're getting with Leeds, do you? 1 week they're fantastic, the next week they're absolutely
We do know that you're getting wet on that away terrace. If it rains, we know where you're getting that.
Could be a bad year for you, Ed. I think they're going to be very good, Leeds.
Oh, Stephen, don't.
We'll make a note of that.
By which I mean, like, you know, fourth.
They've got the players in key. They've got the players in key positions, haven't they? That they needed to have. You know.
Okay, before we move on, we'll have a quick look at Catalans. Catalans, I think, have got the biggest change around, to be honest. Out have gone Adam Kieran, Sam Tompkins is retired, obviously Matt Whitley, Tyrone May, Mitchell Pearce has retired, and Goudemon's gone. And I quite like Goudemon. He's the young French lad, isn't he? Second row.
He's gone to Leeds.
He's gone to Leeds. He looks a good lad. In have come Theo Farge, Jaden Nikarima, Chris Satai, Tarek Sims, Bailey Sirenen, and Jordan Abdul, strangely, from KR on loan, which is a bit of an odd one for me, that.
It's an odd one from OKR's point of view.
I think so.
I really like Jordan Abdul.
More to that, I think, with him and Mr. Peters, I think.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, there must be. They wouldn't,
Possibly.
You wouldn't loan one of your inverted commas better players out, would you?
I think Jordan Abdul is the kind of player that we could do with. Our coaches seem to love coaching the high kicking game, and as people in the game have said to me, a high kicking game's alright, but if you're going to kick it high, kick it bloody high. Don't just kick it kind of high. Don't just kick it Lewis Dodd high. Kick it Jordan Abdul high, where he hoofs it, and it's
well,
out,
everybody's underneath
it's
it.
out the frigging stadium. It's going that high. You look at Saints when he puts a bomb up, you lose sight of it because it's going out the ground. You know,
The other thing about Abdul, keeping him fit, isn't it? Because he hasn't played much recently.
Yeah.
I am a Jordan Abdul fan. I think he's a great player. But if you look at Hull KR's spine this year, and that you've just touched on in his fitness, you've got Tyrone May who signed. He had a hell of a season last year, didn't he? And then you've got Mikey Lewis. So there's a 6 and 7 sorted. I am a bit baffled with, is it Hickey they've got it starting one? But then they've got Evans on the wing and they've just signed Burgess. So how are they going to fit? I don't get how that's going to work out.
What do you mean for OKR?
Yeah, because Hiku's the starting one. Then you would set Evans is on the wing. But then Hiku played centre at Warrington a few seasons ago, didn't he?
I don't know how they're going to go with it.
So let's get back to Catalans. Let's get back onto Catalans. I think that's too many changes. I think they've got a spine change. They've got 8 coming in, 7 going out. I don't think you can get that working in the one season.
No, I think it'll be.
Quickly.
I think Catalan will be
Mid-table?
looking to finish. Yeah, it's probably 6th, 7th this year.
The only thing I will say is that the coach, year after year, constantly proves that he's actually quite good. And I've never been a fan of his, but he does.
I know he's took a lot of stick from us over the years, hasn't he?
Oh, he has.
It's because when he was coaching England, it was so boring to watch. It was like just stupefyingly boring.
Like watching Christian Wolf Saints.
Except without winning, it was, So that's probably where that comes from. I think anytime you change both your halfbacks, though, it's a risk, isn't it?
It is a risk.
You've got Abdul and Farge, and I don't think Farge pulled up many trees when he was here, so there's a question mark there, I would say. But I think they'll do better than 6th. I think they'll be top 4.
I think Catalan had their chance last year to win the grand final. That was their chance, and for me, Wigan in that grand final weren't great. They took one opportunity and they won the grand final. You know, Catalan for me just didn't. They weren't there. They didn't turn up again. So I think it'll take Catalan another season or 2 just to get that spine together and then get back to the top.
Quite like Chris Satai. I always thought he was a
good impact player.
A good impact player. Yeah.
I think some decent forwards, haven't they?
He's a big unit, and he's a big unit, and he's Satai.
The one thing that's made helps them out obviously is a lot of teams travel into Catalan because when you go there it's a horrible place to go, isn't it? And not many teams, or only a handful of teams each year come away with a victory, don't they? So
yeah, they don't lose money there. Yeah, I've not been over for a while. It tends to be pretty hot when they go over and they think it'd be great, but suddenly the tanks run dry after about 50 minutes, don't they? Over there because they're not used to playing over there. And you know when you can hold yourself.
It's intimidating as well. We've been in the stands and it's intimidating. So we've got some passionate fans over there.
You guys witnessed that first time last year, didn't you? You witnessed that. Do you know it's like we keep saying that the ground and the travel and the ground and the travel, but they've just had some bloody good teams in the last few years.
Yeah,
It's difficult to go to Wigan and win. It's difficult to come to Saints and win. Well, Catalan have been that. I mean, the travel, whether it's reasons or not, I don't know. It's like if Saints travel in and out on the same day, everybody's all over social media. You shouldn't do that. If Saints travel and stay overnight and get beat, you shouldn't do that. You should
have a week's holiday, you can't win.
I mean, didn't Wigan go and spend a full week in France and got beat again? Hammered to sight twice. So there's just, I think it's just the fact that they've had some good teams and, like you say, a good hostile home support, which is what you want.
It will be interesting to see how they go this year, because like I said, Tompkins is a massive loss for them.
Great player.
Don't like him though. I don't mind him. He speaks a lot of sense, but I didn't like him as a player.
I love him as a pundit.
Didn't like him because he played for Wigan.
It's a bit like Matty Pete, isn't it?
I think
don't like him, but he's good at what he does.
I think
like stupid
Tompkins is like Wellesby. Wellesby is despised outside of our club. He's absolutely despised by
particularly
everybody.
at Wigan, you think.
So I just think it's that's exactly what Sam Tompkins was.
Tompkins is that good, and Wellesby is the same, isn't he? Wellesby's going to get better and better.
Yeah.
So other teams hate the better players, and that's the situation.
It was just set up for Tompkins to do that stupid backwards trot, wasn't it? Right at the end of the game, and just like, you.
It was an absolute dagger.
You would have done that in the grand final.
It really was. We got run out to block the field goal. You're thinking, no, it's not a drop goal, this lads. It's going to go. It's just going to run round you. And so he did, straight round him.
Oh dear. All right, let's move on for a bit. Let's have a look at let's have a look at some law amendments or rules amendments that I've picked up on. I don't know if you've picked up on these, lads. I've picked out 4 or 5 here that will affect the game going forwards. Scrum penalties. If you get a penalty at a scrum, you've got the option to reset the scrum, which is a novel one on me. I think Saints are particularly delighted because Paul Wellens said we'll go for another scrum because we can't kick the ball more than 5 yards.
Not contested, so why would you do that? Just tap it.
Just from the I think all the scrum serves for these days is it ties players into the same part of the pitch.
Like 6 big lads out the way.
Yeah, opens up some space.
More open rugby, I think, is the idea behind
which
it.
when you've got a team full of pensioners, we're going to need as much space as
I suppose there's some logic in that to a point, but I don't know.
But if
I think it'll confuse fans. That
if you've got Jordan Abdul, you kick for touch because you're going to get 50 yards down the pitch. If you're Saints, you kick 5 yards, so you might as well have a scrum.
You could play the same rules for like 50 years, year on year, and still confuse rugby league fans. We'd still argue over the.
This is true,
but that's the point, Graham. Is our kicking to touch is diabolical, and it has been for many years. It's just poor. I can't see the point of. I always like the way Mark Sneed always does it is. If he out of every 10 kicks, he'll try and go as far as he can. If 3 of those 10 kicks don't make touch, then so be it, because the other 7 or 8
have got such an advantage.
Have got so much distance on them that it outweighs. But our kicking to touch,
our kicking looks like it's don't make a mistake, just make sure it's in the stand.
But that's our whole style of rugby league in the last few years.
Because I think though, if you kick
percentage
for touch of the penalty, you don't make it, you're going to get hammered by the fans proper, because that is a waste of an advantageous position.
Yeah, but you sit in the same stand as me, Steve, at Saints, and when we kick to touch, and then when the linesman's got to run back towards your team rather than running,
there may be a happy medium.
You lads in the West Stand will miss all this.
You'd as well just tap it and run. So you'd as well have a scrum as kicking.
Still queuing at the bar for a pint.
In the imaginary tent outside Medvey bar.
It's me and Dan stood down our own bar.
He's going Salford, it'd be quicker.
Yes, he's gone to Tesco's for some cans, All right, the next one is restarting the tackle count or 6 agains. If the if you infringe within 40 metres of the in possession team's. Hang on, I have to read it. I'd have to read this 4 times. It's about
stating what the rule
6 again.
I think it's only 6 again.
If it's
inside your own 40, is that right?
No.
Or outside your own 40.
If you infringe, if you're giving the team's got the ball in their own 20 or own 40, if you concede a penalty to concede the 6 again,
and it is a penalty.
It becomes a penalty in the 40 metres within the 40 metres of the attacking teams, the team in possessions goal, as it were.
I think, for what it's worth, after it was so eloquently explained,
What's
I've really got
the
it
rule
wrong
again,
now.
Eddie? What's that rule again?
so if you commit a foul,
It's restarting the tackle count, it's technically called.
This is
Yeah, so
probably
they're not having
possibly going to
6
stop
again.
teams, mentioning no names, but a certain team,
that would be awesome.
kicking the ball down the field and deliberately lying on the first tackle.
I think it was the most needed.
Because they'd
I
rather
think it
defend
needed
7
it.
tackles than
Yeah.
give them a quick play the ball.
I think it was the most needed change. I think the idea of the 6 again rule, where you can just
Hold down.
you can just commit fouls.
Just get your defence set, yeah.
It was, and we were the worst
Not that
defenders
we were the
for
only team that
it.
did that, but I think we started it and everyone else just piled on.
Yeah, we were shockingly bad for it, and for me, it's just gamesmanship. It's
Well,
it's,
the footnote too is it's all about cleaning up the ruck, but to me that just means it'll last a week.
I would get rid of 6 again anyway, but across the board, just get shut of it.
Yeah, it only came in
To me.
COVID, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it did, to avoid contact.
Yeah, yeah.
To
Or
limit
minimise
the amount
contact,
of
yeah.
contact. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that one was needed. I think that the amount of times when you commit a foul on the first tackle and it was just a 6 again. Well, what good's that to
I've just
anybody?
been the six, sorry, I can't even say it. I've just been the 6 again off. You know,
Yeah,
it's just if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. Give the team a penalty because you're less. If you're defending, you're going to less likely to give a penalty away because you don't want to.
Well, Saints will be asking for a scrum because they can't kick it into touch.
More often than not, it doesn't benefit the attacking side, and that's fundamentally wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah, it benefits the defending side.
Yeah, correct. I agree. Yeah. Okay. Another change is the 18th player interchange rule was normally for head injuries, where you could bring in the 18th player onto the bench if somebody was head injured out of the game. It's now been extended to cover a permanent injury. So if a player goes off with a permanent injury,
Any injury?
your 18th man can now become one of
This
the 17.
sounds like it's open to abuse to me. My first thought.
I think there is. I think there is a lot of that in a similar sort of ilk of the Chris Hill HIA. Let's abuse the system and let's take the piss out of the rules. But I think it's to again looking at cutting down on fatiguing the players that are on the pitch. Isn't it? It's to have an extra pair of legs so that the ones that are left there due to injury, obviously if it's a red, but
Yeah.
whether it was something that needed tinkering with, I don't know.
Well, it's going to benefit your team if you have an injured player. The opposition aren't going to be happy with it, are they? But vice versa.
Well, they get the same advantage if they
Is
have a
it
player
more
who's
like
injured.
a player welfare
Yeah.
move? Do we think?
I think
than
it's a
anything
player
else?
welfare because if you have a player that's injured out of the game with a knee or an elbow, whatever the injury is, you're down to 16, with the other team still at 17. So, but if you can bring that head injury 18th man into your roster, you don't lose an interchange effectively.
Yeah, I'm with that. I don't mind that at all.
I think so.
Like
I think
said,
it's fair that
you can see other teams not being happy. For example, a player Wellesby going off, and then us bringing on, I don't know, say Makinson wasn't playing for always. Do you know what I mean? Had a few injuries or something. He comes on
As the 18th man.
as the 18th man. They're like, the opposition will be obviously annoyed, won't they? Or like playing Wigan and Field going off, and then French coming on, for example. Do you know what I mean? They play.
well, I get it, but I think
Or if someone's having an absolute murr and they want to get rid of him and bring in someone who might be a bit more
you're injured,
capable,
yeah.
there might be word in his ear. You stay down, son. Off you come.
Yeah.
the physio goes on and runs a staple through his kneecap.
Yeah,
and says,
yeah.
"Oh, he can't play." Yeah.
Like Chris Hill suffering a head injury when he twists his ankle. I'm going off for an head injury assessment. No, you're just having another substitution.
Is he still playing, Chris Hill?
He's going around again.
Is he playing again?
Yeah, I think he was
Can't
quite.
wait to see how he deals with this one.
He was quite decent last year, though.
I think he had got a 2-year deal at Huddersfield, which is why he left Warrington, wasn't it?
The reason why I ask is now he's about 35 and he's now 36 maybe. Which, for a
Depends-
prop,
it
is
depends how
quite long in the tooth, isn't it?
Depends how many minutes he plays, though, because if he's only wanted for 25-30 minutes, he can do that in 2 spells, can't he?
Just keeping
Effective.
the place warm for Tom Burgess, isn't he, really?
I guess so. Yeah. All right, the next one. There's 2 left. The green card has been kept for players, but on the defending team only. So that's to stop the Chris Hill situation of lying down injured when there's something going on. They get under pressure.
When you're
he
lying.
goes off. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, no problem with that.
And at last, the new reckless endangerment charge has been brought in, which is to cover the well, for want of a better expression, the Asiata incidents. The stopping or diving in front of players with no intention of tackling. Now,
I didn't understand why they couldn't change that at the time last year.
I mean, they could have done.
If something is dangerous,
Yeah.
stamp it out immediately. Don't wait another 3 months for somebody else to get bad knee injury,
Well, exactly.
which could have happened.
Yeah.
They had to continue and just thought, oh, let's just hope for the best. Nobody else gets injured.
Well, I think the RFL were fools
It's mad
not
to
to have
me.
done it earlier, because if somebody happened to somebody and he'd lost his career a month after the Asiata issues.
I'm not to like be like conspiracy theories or anything, but I'm convinced the reason they didn't do it earlier was because it would have been an admission that we had 2 of our starting prop forwards wiped out for the season by 1 man in 1 match within the space of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to admit that, and it was blatantly that's what it was.
Yeah.
But you look at like
He
Parsley.
finished the season of
Well,
2 of our
Parsley's
props.
been out for the best part of 2 seasons, I
But
think.
he might not come back the same player.
Well, exactly.
Because of that incident, you know, he potentially, he might come back and might be half the player that
Is
he
there
was.
even a date for him to come back, a timeline for him to come back yet? I've not heard of
Yeah, he's going to come
anything.
back. That's
Yeah.
the
No.
question.
Not heard of anything about that.
No, I don't think anybody's said anything either.
But it should have been dealt with at the time, I think.
100% Steve.
It was
100%.
just swept under the carpet, wasn't it? And yeah, I agree. It needed dealing with.
And I think it was swept under the carpet because it was such a high magnitude match, and they didn't want that coming out that it was a bad look for the sport.
Yeah.
And because that's 2 massive players gone for a season like that,
Yeah.
almost intentionally, and I'll not have it that it was any other way. The shithousery, as they say, Stephen.
Either that or he's really lazy. And couldn't be asked to wrap his arms around. NFL style.
Yeah,
I'm wearing a helmet, so screw it, I'll just dive in.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were 2 shockers just watching. There was clearly no attempt to tackle. Still gives me the chills, that one, thinking about them. All right, and there's been 44 recommendations from the Brain Health and Clinical Advisory Group Subcommittee, whoever's on that, which are going to affect the game in the next, certainly the next season and the season after. Tackling above the armpit.
We're not going to go through all 44.
No,
I'll have to let me dog out if we are.
I picked out the highlights for you. Tackling above the armpit.
I'll have to ring work. Tell me what we're in.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I'll keep it simple. Tackling above the armpit, as we know, is outlawed at grassroots, reserve and academy level from this season and for elite rugby from next year. But I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to start. The referee's going to start penalising the remotely remotely head tackle here.
We have some good grounding
do that
in
anyway,
this.
don't they?
Yeah.
We have some good grounding already in this around the table with myself and Stephen, who have seen numerous matches where this has been put in play.
Right.
It's going to be pandemonium.
Is it?
It's going to be. We've watched teams this year that have played matches to 2 sets of rules because the Challenge Cup being deemed
Oh, right.
a professional competition.
Yeah.
So it's played under the professional guidelines, but then you've got Clopface, Thatterheath, York Acorn, Wathbrow, Westall, Hunslet, Parkside. Numerous teams that are playing in a professional competition which is going to overlap with, and it's and we've seen the try to interpret these new laws, haven't we? Yeah. And it's going to take, I fear, and I was talking about this, I went up to Barrow against Oldham on Saturday. We was having a chat there, and we think, it was at Wigan St Jude's Sunday morning at some junior matches, that you are going to need to get the players that are currently playing, under 11s, under 12s, for them to hit under 18s before this rule becomes as fluid as they hope it'll be. Because at the minute you've got 14, 15, 16 year olds who are just absolutely bamboozled, and when you're playing a game at the speed it's going to be, if they try to bring it in next year, it's going to be carnage. It's been a bit of a disaster, hasn't it, Steve?
Okay, Steve, yeah.
I mean, this was a point we raised on our other podcast. We were talking to Mike Woods from Tatterheath. We raised this question to him, and ironically, he spun it on its head to a certain degree. he was saying this should have been brought in first in the professional game. Then everybody could have learned from how it was done. Because the bottom line is, everybody obviously has the visuals to watch Super League matches and on other ways, certainly where it's going to be covered in this next season. Therefore, it's easier to teach that to everybody in the the community game. And this is going to be fractured along the way. The other thing he said, which you get to a certain stage as you go down the tiers, where from a refereeing point of view, you get coaches who'll referee games because there aren't sufficient referees. And usually what happens a lot of the time is one half will be refereed by one coach and the other half will be refereed by another coach. So what he was saying, so you're telling me if us Tatweeters are playing somebody like Intros Bridge or Wigan St Pat's, and we or the other coach referees it one way and there's a few high titles but they're penalised, in the second half that doesn't happen. You're talking to two guys who aren't referees. Do you know what I mean? They may not be doing it on purpose, but instead of doing it the other way around and say getting the sort of everybody at the same level from the start, so it filters its way down. They're going from the bottom and using them as
guinea pigs.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say it's an harsh word.
They're hidden away, and that's not what the TV audience will see. If you started at Super League level and it's a disaster, it makes the game look ridiculous, that's what you're showing the public. This is our game. That's why they haven't done that.
I think I can understand the reasons they want to do it, but I've said this, and I've said this for a few years. I would sooner see them reduce the 10 to 5 than come out. And I understand it's player welfare, and rightfully so. It's about player welfare, but I think players suffer more damage from two 17-stone blokes hitting each other when they've got full speed from that distance. You reduce the 10 to 5, change the profile of the game, make it become quicker and more skillful, make your skill players the centre of attention rather than who's got the biggest, most powerful, most hardest hitting, boring, crash bang wallop kick. But I don't, this whether it comes in halfway through this season, as you say, or starts next season, we've got to be careful. I mean, we've not all, but if any of us has watched any of the Six Nations this season in a sport which dwarfs our sport in its stature and size in the rugby union, they're just swimming in a pool of their own shit. They've no idea what players don't know, referees don't know. It's utter chaos, and that's in a sport that dwarfs ours. I don't know what. Again, it's just such a rugby league thing to do. There's got to be better ways of looking at player welfare than trying to get them. And
there's a few more I'll tell you about in a second coming in that will maybe help the player welfare. But I think the tackling thing, I think we're going to start seeing referees penalising shoulder tackles now. Yeah. I think it might say it's not coming in till 25, but I think they're going to start anything shoulder. It's going to be a penalty now.
That was what I saw. I was up at Wigan St Jude's Sunday morning before I went that way Sunday afternoon, and there was a number of junior matches on, and the referees, and there was referee assessors there. So the junior referees were mic'd up, and there was an assessor or a coach, a referee's coach, if you will, on the sidelines, and that's what was going on. And parents were throwing hissy fits because they didn't understand it. The kids who were playing didn't understand it. One of the games there's one of the local junior referees, a girl she's fantastic. She's a great referee, and she had the referee's coach or assessor, whatever he was, speaking to her, and she was implying these rules as they should be implied. But it was farcical. It was almost farcical because, well, just because it's such a change.
Big change.
It's unbelievable. So I don't know what's going to happen with it today.
Well, the next change is that all players are now going to have to wear instrumental mouth guards, which will monitor the impact of head collisions during contact. I don't know the technology of how this is going to work, but you are now.
Is this going to lead to players being pulled out of games because they've got?
Well, maybe because
negative results.
Down
we
the
haven't
line,
seen anything.
There are independent concussion spotters on a trial basis in 2024.
Because that's going to confuse people. It's like so and so's not played this week because his his stats were too high or whatever.
Well, maybe.
But there's nothing visible in the game itself.
Correct.
But they're taking a reading from a mouthpiece.
I'm not quite sure how
And
it's going to
suddenly
work.
he's not
but
playing because he's got a concussion.
These readings will be available to, presumably, the club, the RFL, the medical teams that are supervising clubs and players.
See, there's many things that are unavoidable for the movements of a head, and that because they say that now that the skull caps don't offer any protection because it's not so much the outside of your head hitting somebody's boot, it's your brain hitting the inside of the skull.
Correct.
Which
Correct.
is doing the damage.
Yeah.
And your skull cap's not going to help that. In fact, it's an adverse effect because you put that skull cap on and suddenly little Johnny
thinks
running
he's
up at
Superman,
Close Street in Tatooine thinks he's indestructible.
Yeah.
When he's not, he's going to... but whether it be a player editing the floor, whether it be another player editing... But again, I'll go back to my previous point of reduce the distance between the two sets of
I
teams.
don't think I'd argue with that point. I think that's a sensible point.
You reduce that 10 to 5 and you are lowering the strength and the forces of that collision.
What you've also got to consider as well is that you might end up with forwards running at each other from 10 or 15 yards, but your centre's hitting and your wingers are hitting where they've been running at 40 yards. And they're going twice as fast.
We mentioned Percy and Tommy before.
We mentioned them too.
We mentioned Percy and Tommy
50
before.
metres sometimes.
I remember the game at Warrington when Percy dislocated his shoulder. Did it when he ran into one of the Warrington forwards? Who was that shithouse they had at Warrington?
Any number of them.
Which one?
That doesn't narrow it down.
Doesn't narrow it down much, mate. Yeah.
Was it Akawal?
Oh, him that used to...
He turned his
his
shoulder in.
shoulder.
Yeah, and Percy's hit him at full pomp, and it's been like he's run into an oak tree, and Percy came off a bad way. So that's where you're going to get as much. So when you're registering the forces of the impact on a head,
But if he's hit him in the head, irrespective of the force or whatever the rules are, the new rules are, that's a penalty, it's a foul. Can't do it. Why should you be able to hit somebody in the head with your shoulder because you're carrying the ball?
yeah, but
As an attacking player.
And I think what you say there about if somebody's monitoring this data, does it get monitored real time or does it get monitored? Does everybody, like when they finish the game, plug it into whatever they plug these monitors they have in the shirts? What level of rugby does it transcend to? Does it start at
Well, I
amateur
think
game?
I think it's only coming for the pro game, isn't it? 'Cause
again,
that's where the stats
It sounds
will be.
expensive to implement that at the
And
community
is it all
levels.
driven by the? We don't want to. It's a whole show on its own, but is it all driven by the
The fear of
Goulding,
litigation and all that.
Fozzard-esque
Maybe. Yeah.
That's what's driving all these rule changes.
Player
yeah.
culture.
For certain, yeah.
That's what drove the changes in the NFL, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the NFL can afford to pay out $1 billion lawsuit. Forget about it. Rugby league can't do that.
Yeah.
But interestingly, the next one is that there's going to be a minimum off season of 4 weeks, and your first 2 weeks back at pre-season training have to be no contact. So
What have we got now? We don't have 4 weeks now.
I don't know what we've had, but some players don't get it for some
4
reason.
weeks.
4 week minimum.
Well, we
thing.
can't play in October.
If you've been on international though, a lot of them will
Yeah,
be
we've had
finishing.
3 tests.
Well, say pre-season training starts in November in some clubs.
Yeah.
Does it?
So
Yeah,
a lot,
yeah.
That's a bit over the top for a February start, I think. That's probably a good rule, I think.
Well, I think so. But and then
A lot of the amateur games went pre-season training before Christmas.
Really?
Believe it or not, yeah.
And they start when? February?
March.
March. That's ridiculous. 3 months worth of... You don't need that much, surely.
You just need to bin off loot fixtures.
If big
Yeah, well, that'd be a start, wouldn't it?
if Big Keys is listening in, or if he listens
But
to
that
this,
would
he'd agree with you.
involve reducing the price of our season tickets, and they won't be doing that anytime soon. So.
And over the hill, following on from all this, there are going to be match limits for backs and forwards over a 12-month period.
That's why we've got so many second rows.
That, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Rugby League will
Between
not,
suspensions.
it will not rest until we're playing with a team of second rowers. It depends what those limits are,
It
doesn't
depends what limits are. There's no stats or information on that, but professional players, forward, I presume a forward's going to have to play less games than a back, maybe. I don't know.
But they tend to play fewer minutes because they get rotated.
Whether it's a totting up,
Or back, yeah.
whether it's a totting up procedure, I don't know.
Do you know when you... slightly off track here, sorry, Graham. When you're watching the Saints and we start a game and then after half an hour they take Morgan Knowles off, And Gaz goes apoplectic about it. He goes off his tits, Gaz, every time. Why is he taking him off? Look at him, he's nothing wrong. I believe that's all to do with these monitors that there were.
Maybe.
Now, each player has got a threshold of his yards, his heart rate, etc., etc. Morgan Knowles reaches that threshold that quick.
Yeah.
Because he's like Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
And when they get to that threshold, that's why he's hiked off, and you think to yourself, he's only done half an hour. Why have you took Morgan Knowles off after half an hour when he's just what we need on
Well,
the
he's
pitch?
played half an hour at 150 miles an hour,
Yeah,
whereas
because he's
Big
reached
Al's
his-
played
yeah.
half an hour at
That's as
30
long as
miles an hour.
Because he's
before
reached
he nobbles
those,
someone.
those medical medical thresholds.
Yeah.
So all this, and again, it all comes back down to player welfare. But they're heading down a tricky route here. They really are heading down a tricky route.
Tricky route, I think.
Would it not just be easier to say to somebody, right, Paul, you're playing this year, sign this bit of paper. If you do yourself a crippler, it's your own fault, son. Yeah, no problem. I want to play rugby league.
Well, no, I think that's right. It's the law on this is that you're deemed to know the risk if you consent to play. Part of you, it's a Valenti, what is it, non-fit injury or something, risk of injury.
You know that
something
anyway,
like that.
when you sign up.
But
Play, you know the risk.
the rub comes when you have been injured and you're allowed to play when you're not properly recovered. And that's
I think those days have gone.
Those
You're not,
days
yeah.
have gone.
Yeah. Anymore.
Yeah.
No, you're not. But that's where these litigation cases hang around in the background, or where they're like, I don't know, Bobby Goulding and Lee Gilmore, not Lee Gilmore. I know them will be saying, I was injected with stuff to play when I wasn't fit and all that.
I think the
Malarkey.
Fozzard Goulding one, I think was the genuine. I say genuine. No, in fact, I don't mean that. The genuine was like Shantae Harpy was one that suffered shockingly with hundreds of concussions and almost forced to play. But he was suffering with the Stevie Ward's another one. Stevie Ward's had to finish at a
Lance
great
O'Hire as well.
player, marvellous player. Stevie Ward. He's only about 27 and he's had to retire.
Yeah, he was a good player.
Lance O'Hire, and I think the likes of you, the Gouldings and Fozzards that are driving this, whether that's more to do with the Wonga value when you've got younger ones, but I can. This is a spiral heading to be.
Isn't Ward taking Leeds to court over his situation?
I think this comes down to being told he was okay to play or he could play when he probably shouldn't. And that's sort of
It's a very sticky path, the Stevie Ward.
It's a grey area. Yeah,
it's one to be watched. Yeah. They'll be tried. Hetherington will do his best to push it up in the way he does, but it'll be an interesting one to see it develop.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, I think.
But I think all these rules, Graham, I understand it's in player welfare, but I
actually enforcing the scene and making them work is a whole different ballgame.
The problem is, if you go much further, you haven't really got a game.
Yeah,
That's
it's a totally
attractive
different game.
to the people
Taking
that follow
in a
it.
couple of years.
So that's the problem you've got. You've got to make it still resemble something like the game that everyone follows. Otherwise, people will stop following it.
I agree.
And then you might as well let it, wither on the vine, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it will if we are not seen to take some action to minimise the risk, because it's the risk that's the key on this. So I think whoever's in charge has probably got to be.
I agree with that. You've got to make sure that it's safe
risk
in that,
is managed,
in that respect. But you can only go so far before people lose interest anyway. And so it's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
Moving on, Saints, I have to tell you, are World Club champions for another
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I've written down here, should we talk about the World Club Challenge? We probably should.
The one coming up, or the one that we hold?
There's one coming up.
The one that they told us last year didn't matter.
Yeah,
That one.
Yeah, that one. 27th of Feb, 8 o'clock, Wigan against Penrith Panthers. I was going to have a technical discussion, but let's not. Who do you want to win? I want Panthers to win.
Panthers all day
I
long.
want Panthers to win. I don't care, because a number of Wigan fans on my Twitter or X was slagging it off when Saints won it.
Wigan.
Oh, here we go.
I want Wigan to win desperately because I think.
You think Panthers? Panthers are the most arrogant club in America. Australia even. Australia even.
What's Carolina done to you?
What if it leads it?
I want Wigan to win as much as they do me head in our nearest and dearest from over the lump.
Because Leeds was watching.
As Leeds are the most arrogant club in rugby league, I just don't like Penrith. I think Australians and South Africans are arrogant when it comes to sport.
That's a slightly sweeping statement.
It is, Stephen, I know. It is, Stephen.
Just for balance, who do you want to win?
Penrith.
Fine, okay. Paul and Darren, what are your views, lads?
I'm a bit lady. I want Wigan to win for like the Super League side of things, but the bragging rights from the Wiganers are just like, I want to get battered, but I don't know.
Listen, you see, the thing is, Paul, even if Wigan win it, they did it on their own ground. They didn't go to Sydney and do it on a ground that Penrith have only lost 4 matches in 3 years.
Yeah, like you just nailed it there with Penrith. Like I said, all the Aussies are arrogant.
The Aussies hate Penrith.
They don't give it. To be fair,
The Aussies despise Penrith.
If Saints
Oh yeah, the most hated team over there by a mile.
If Saints would have won last year, the World Cup Challenge possibly would have been on this year.
Yeah.
Saints have kept
Saints have
World Cup
really
Challenge
True.
Saints were done out of 2 years of actually being
Playing
up
it.
for winning that trophy, and a lot of people forget that. We can talk about how many they've won. We could have actually smashed that target by now if we would have had the chance to do that, but we haven't.
Well said, that man.
And we're here. But for a Super League point of view, you want the Super League team to win, but I can't say it's Wigan. I just can't say I want Wigan to win the World Club Challenge, and especially because they'd be taking it off us. But I think that the whole World Club Challenge game and it's brilliant that it's sold out. Absolutely fantastic. We all want to see full stadiums.
Yeah.
Hats off to Wigan for selling out.
Well, I think Saints winning it last year has sold out Wigan.
Absolutely, yeah. It's sort of like raised the profile of the game. If Saints can go and do it, we can do it on our own ground, and I
think
don't
there'll be a
know.
lot of neutrals buying tickets there as well, to be fair.
Well, if we wouldn't have been playing Huddersfield on the same day, I probably would have gone along to it. But
Yeah, I agreed, yeah.
Are we Penrith going, are we? Penrith going to Wigan on the way to Vegas, is it? Is that part of the...
No, I think Vegas is mid-season, isn't it? I don't know.
I think it's mid-season.
I think Vegas is
the season up there, isn't it?
Yeah, there's 2 games in Vegas at the start of the season.
Is that
right?
Yeah,
Penrith not one of them.
I don't know who's playing, to be honest. Not sure, but
I wasn't sure if Penrith
don't
were
think
doing
it's-
it.
I don't
Like
Sunday
Wigan
on
then
the,
going to
3rd of March.
Vegas.
I want Wigan to win, just because I really, really dislike Penrith, and I dislike all Australian rugby teams. I dislike Australian rugby players. I think the NRL's apathy towards...
Didn't dislike Ben Barber, did you?
I think the NRL's apathy towards international rugby league, as if it's not in the NRL, they're not asked, they're not interested, until they've now suddenly thought, hang on, there's 350 million people in America, but we need to ride their coattails. There's no point us trying to promote games in America. I always thought that the vehicle to expand rugby league into America had to be states of origin, because rugby league doesn't get any higher than states of origin. Take that over there. But if the NRL are going to go and try...
I don't think that's the best spectacle, though, to be honest.
I
I think
think
state of origin is the actual, it's the embodiment of 5 drives and a kick, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you want to sell rugby league to another country, that's the...
You want to show that.
It's the highest standard,
That's
I
the
agree with
highest.
that.
That's the highest standard. And when
But
it
it's not
comes
always
to...
great to watch, I don't think.
Not necessarily, I agree with you there, Steve. Although their last grand final I thought was stunning. The grand final last year.
The grand final is different to the origin.
It is
series.
different to the origin, but you're not going to take a grand final over to America, are you?
No.
But if you can... I still think it's the vehicle that needs to drive the spread of rugby league. But...
they've basically took the concepts of Magic Weekend and absolutely smashed ours out the water. We're taking ours to Ellen Road, and they're taking us to Las Vegas.
that's
absolutely
Ellen Road.
ridiculous.
And they've sold the stadium out in 2
And they
days.
sold it out.
Yeah, and they have sold it out, but I still think that arrogance and that apathy towards the sports over here, which is, we can't ever compete with it in the sense of, it bugs when you see people, it's not as good as the NRL, and it's like comparing English football and Scottish football. It's just ridiculous. You can't, people say, the NRL's better than the Super. Well, of course the NRL's better than the Super League, you dickhead. It always has been and it always will be.
When a lot of
It's salary cap, isn't it?
Yeah, you had a lot of the players like going back to the home roots, like Tonga, Fiji, Samoa. That really shook like the Australian national team.
Yeah.
And because all of a sudden, all these players that they thought they had were actually
And what did they do, Dazzler, when that happened? They spat the dummy out, threw the toys out,
and they didn't want to play.
We're not playing in the World Cup.
But we need them as much as they need us for international rugby league to go forward and move forward. We all need to work together.
I think you're right when you say about the islands, as they like to call them. That's been great for international rugby league, but it just shows the utter arrogance of the NRL.
Absolutely, yeah.
And to say that, we're not going to play in it. Do you know? We'll do one then.
Yeah.
Just do my head in big style.
Penrith are my Aussie team, because I remember seeing them play at Saints years ago where Ryan Girdler ripped us apart. Do you remember that? When they had those home and aways for Australian and British teams back in the late 80s, early 90s, was it?
It was 1997.
Was that? Right, okay.
And we didn't get within 30 points of any of them, I don't think.
Absolutely slaughtered us, yeah. But I remember Ryan Girdler at Nosey Road.
We played Cronulla and we played Penrith. I think we played.
But I think there needs to be more.
I remember Matt Rogers for Cronulla ripping us to bits.
Cronulla Sharks, Penrith and Warriors.
I think there needs to be more games like that. Like I said before about these stupid loot fixtures. We're playing Wakefield and Castleford 3 times a season. And
nonsense.
Absolute nonsense. Get big teams. Set that up in the international calendar where we do play. We have a touring team or whatever we do.
I've got a different tack.
Bring some excitement.
I've got a slightly different tack on that.
Go on, Eddie.
I think we should have less games.
Because of player welfare?
Player welfare would come under the umbrella. But I think you need to create the demand to go and watch the games.
It's true.
So if Saints have only got...
right, okay, I get
let's say Saints have only got 11 home games in a season.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm not going to miss one of them.
Yeah.
Because we're only playing at home 11 times.
Yeah, you're only playing Wigan once, you're only playing Warrington once.
But you wouldn't pay the same price though, would you? That you're currently playing for 14, 15. You want your ticket to be cheaper, wouldn't you?
No. I would be willing to pay, because I think the flip side of it would create demand. It's less stress physically on the players.
Better quality game.
It should up the quality of the game, and I just think it would be an all-round benefit. I don't want to watch us play Wakefield twice. Even Wigan, I don't want to watch us play Wigan 3 times in a season.
Was that the you're playing Wigan 3 times a season? Like you said, it's not.
That's without even Challenge Cup or the playoffs.
A couple of seasons ago, we played Wigan 5 times in one season.
It just dilutes that.
I'd get rid of Magic. I'd get rid of loop fixtures.
Yeah.
I would just have the straight home and away. End of story. Put more into the Challenge Cup, and again we've done full shows on what we need to do about the Challenge Cup to revive the Challenge Cup. But I think then, we spoke earlier, create that game day atmosphere and create more of a demand or more enthusiasm to go to the game. If we're only playing 11 games in a season, you're going to do at home, you're going to do your damnedest to be at every one of them games, aren't you?
I would, yeah, of course.
Which is what we want.
I do that now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and I'm in an unfortunate situation where I can use like 6 or 7 annual leave days in a season just to get to games. If it's a Huddersfield at home and we're going to be playing them another twice in the season, do you know what? I'm not bothered if I miss that. My day's holiday that I'd have to use from work to go to that game is more important.
Isn't part of that also though, because we don't have to win the league.
But doesn't that dilute the away fans as well? So like if we're going to Huddersfield, let's say twice, or Leigh twice, fans have got a choice of which one they want to go to. So instead of absolutely packing that end out, you're taking probably half and half, and that's for every team.
You go in Castleford later in the summer. If you have a choice of going in March or July, you're going to go to Castleford in July.
The problem is there aren't enough big teams, so there aren't enough big gates for the smaller teams. It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation.
This is that self-centred greed of the clubs as well. They want more matches because they're greedy and they're self-centred. And let's be honest, our club's as bad, whether it be from money through the turnstiles, whether it be from getting Morgan Knowles into a grand final that he shouldn't have been anywhere near.
But 11 games at say 10,000 crowd are better than 15 games at a 4,000 crowd, 5,000 crowd, aren't they?
Much better. Much better. But I would be willing to pay, if we're only playing 11 home games in a season, I'd be willing to pay the extra premium for those matches. And I know and people can't say, those that go now that are getting more, yeah, they're getting more, but the quality's diluted. And then you're on about your player welfare. Let's throw all these rules in. Well, why are we making them play so many matches? And why are we making the game so physical?
But the part of the contributors to player welfare is this style of play, isn't it? You know, this big bang bash, five drives and a kick.
That's what I say about the 10, reduce the 10 to 5.
Reduce the 10 to 5, you've got to be even more skillful to win a game. So
I don't think reducing the number of games would change the attitude towards, head contact and that kind of thing. I still think those rules would be in place anyway. No matter how many games you play.
Do you think that reducing the number of games would increase the demand to almost like the fervour? What do you men think? Would it? Personally, that's what I feel. If there's only 11 home matches in a season, I can't wait for every single one, and I'm not missing one because there's only 11.
You've got the buzz there, haven't you, like you said, but at the minute you're hand-picking certain games you're going to go to because you know you're going to play that team 3 times, 4 times that year.
There's not enough money in rugby league, though, is there? That's the be-all and end-all. That's the be-all and end-all. Like I said, we opened it with the saying we need more international games, and then saying we need... I agree with you, at club level, I think we need to condense it, but I think then we need an expansion on the international, but then you play more games. Same players.
On the international front, wouldn't it be lovely to have a tri-series every other season, whether it's Britain, Australia, New Zealand, or Britain, Fiji, Samoa.
Yeah. Something like reasons, though, why they don't do that. It's not about the number of games the teams play. No, it's about the fact that, as you said before, Darren, they can't get their heads together and get it organised properly. There's no appetite for it in certain quarters. That's why it doesn't happen.
I think it's a financial and administrative nightmare, isn't it? The whole changing the whole thing from what it is to what it could be. Because there's that lull in the 2 or 3 seasons it takes to change it, where some clubs won't just survive that.
And with a sport that have got so many governing bodies, the amateur game, the RFL, Super League, the IRL, and then the NRL,
that just wipes the floor
you've
with
got
everyone.
so many.
We don't even have one set of rules. So, that is bonkers in a sport, isn't it? So if we can't even have one set of rules, how are we going to have...
Even football's got one set of rules.
How are we going to have international tournaments?
IMG overlords calling the shots as well, so that complicates things even further.
Nothing yet there, I don't think. But it kind of ties into the next point, which is the broadcast deal, the new broadcast deal, which is we're still stuck with... No, we're not stuck with... We're still with Sky, although it feels like we're stuck with Sky sometimes. We've lost Channel 4, because the BBC have got the bigger deal with 15, I think, from what I can work out, 15 live matches on the BBC of Super League, plus Challenge Cup, with extended radio coverage and extended website coverage.
But Challenge Cup is only from the quarterfinals on TV this year.
Right.
As opposed to the 6th round.
Yeah, and then I can't work out what Sky are doing. They've got the first few rounds with all 6 matches on.
The first 15, I think it is.
And then after that, I'm not quite sure what's going on.
They've got... they get first pick on the first 2, I think.
Right, but losing Channel 4, I mean, I quite enjoyed Channel 4.
Channel 4 were the best coverage. Yeah. The commentators I thought were really good as well to listen to.
Well, I think a couple of them have signed on with Sky, haven't they? Is it Wilson?
Sky have poached them, haven't they? So that's all Sky.
Kyle gone as well. Yeah.
I think Sky got twitchy.
Well.
Yeah, I think Sky got twitchy because they saw Channel 4 were kicking their arse with the standard and the quality. Absolutely kicking their arse. I think BBC have come in, but if you're still going to wheel out John Keir,
Jonathan Davis,
Brian Noble and Davis, you'd as well not bother.
Yeah.
And the same thing has been said about Davis for his rugby union broadcasting capabilities. The Rah Brigade on TV are saying, why is this idiot still commentating on anything? He's so out of date and out of touch. So it's not just rugby league.
But the issue you got with Sky is an half-decent pundit comes on, you think, oh, happy days, someone decent to listen to. 6 months down the line, they're talking absolute...
They ruin them.
Yeah.
Absolute rubbish.
And do you know what?
Wilkins started off well, and then it took him 6 months. He's an absolute...
I thought the same about Phil Clark when he first started.
Yeah.
And then he just was desperate to get, his own little niche space.
It's all this, it's almost like that Adrian Durham up radio. It's all this sensationalism. Wilkin was brilliant, and then he went to Sky and they've ruined him. and you've got them other two bell ends,
Well,
that McDermott and
Baz and Tez started on Boots and all, if I remember rightly, doing some comedy sketch.
Doing comedy jokes,
Next
comedy
minute,
stuff.
they're ending up main commentators, and they don't know what's going on.
no.
Into a fools. Absolute fools.
You know, you talk.
Tez might be the worst in all of sports.
Barry's talking about seeing someone at Tesco with your phone shopping centre.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, mate?
Then you've got the darts fella, Pike, is it? And then
Stu Pike, yeah.
Bill
He's been dropped,
Arthur.
I think.
No, they announced he was, but now he's not.
Yeah, but that was it. It was announced. Because I was talking to Parky about it, and he said, "Oh no, they've retracted that."
They did, yeah. They said
The thing is with Sky as well, they have to create drama out of everything.
Yeah, everything's a
Instead of
drama.
saying and being
Yeah.
honest and saying, if it's a bad match, it's a bad
Yeah.
match.
Well, that's pretty much what Steve and Eddie did, didn't they? And then
Yeah.
Phil Clark, like you said, kind of like started off really well, and he took over like Steve-O for just putting his 10p's worth and just talking about utter rubbish. Now Wilkins took over that role.
They start going off on tangents about players, like, you know, instead of just commentating on what's actually happening, the best person is Andrew Voss.
Yes.
If you listen to Andrew Voss, he actually just commentates on what's happening. Don't get involved in referee decisions, lets it go, and just lets the game flow.
Mark
But the
Wilson,
Aussie
Mark
commentary
Wilson
top
for me.
class, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
You get Sky commentators, and they're still talking about something that's happened 5 minutes ago. The game's moved on, you know, and you can't keep up with them.
I like Mark Wilson as a but like you say, and presenters. If you had the likes of Chappers, somebody like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's on Sky now, isn't he? He's
I
doing
believe
that.
so.
Doing some
He does
football.
the Carabao Cup on,
Yeah.
on Sky.
What's up, Leon Price and Kevin Brown? Where are they this year? Are they still on Premier?
I've not seen
I
their
suspect
names.
Kevin Brown will be with the BBC.
Yeah, Kyle will be wherever he wants to be, won't he?
I don't think
Kyle's gone to
Premier's-
Sky, isn't he?
I think Premier's been ditched, hasn't it? I don't think any Championship games are getting covered this season.
Are they not?
I don't think so.
That's a bit of a blow, isn't it?
Because those two were decent.
I know Viaplay's definitely gone.
Is it-
I think there might be announcements.
Is it the
on Premier.
Sportsman now that does the?
They're doing some, but I think
Yeah.
Premier are going to be coming in from the Championship and the
Right.
on one that we're saying that there'll be announcements
Yeah.
probably soon.
Right.
Okay, fair enough, lads. Well, thanks very much. Right, let's finish off with our predictions for the coming season. Gaz Tinsley, who's normally with us, except when he's on holiday, and I just have to say he does have more holidays than me, official.
That's close. It's a closer thing, I bet.
The bad news is that Gaz is having to suffer 25 degrees in Spain at the moment, so
Oh,
we have
shame.
to think about him and wish him all the best. But he's given me his predictions, so while you get your thinking caps on, lads, I'll tell you Gaz's. League leaders, he's got Wigan. Cup, Challenge Cup, he said Leeds. Grand Final, he said Saints. And Man of Steel, Jack Wellsby. That's no surprises there, I don't think. So let's come to you all for your league leaders first with why. I'll start with Steve.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Threw you under the bus then, didn't
I'm going to have to say, through gritted teeth, I can't see past Wigan for league leaders. I think they've got the strongest squad, and I think that's what's going to get you the league leaders shield, the strongest squad. Unless they do, you know, what we've been a little bit known for over the last few years, and you know, take a weakened team to the odd game. I think they're probably in the best position to finish top.
Okay, AD.
I agree with that. I think they've just got the best squad. We've got, like I say, we've like a bit like Dad's Army-os, aren't we? So I'd go Wigan.
Paul.
I'll go Wigan as well. I think, again, just with the squad, the recruitment they've made this year, I think they stand out above most. I think they'll win the league leaders, and then I'm hoping.
Well, we'll come to that. Hang on. What do you think?
I think Saints will finish top of the pile only because we would have finished top of the pile if we didn't have the World Club Challenge last season.
Agreed.
So I think Wigan, they'll probably beat Castleford. I think they'll lose against Penrith, but then I think they'll go on a bit of a wobble because it's very hard to get up for that first couple of months.
Yeah.
And I think we'll just pip them to the post because we'll already be 50 points up against London, so we'll be fine.
We need that, don't we?
Yeah, we need that. Yeah, we need
to
that
learn how
points.
to pile on
Absolutely.
the points on teams.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can be
I don't think
what
we'll
do
see
you
it.
think, Steve?
No.
Who are you on for that? The league leaders.
League leaders, I agree though. I think Saints could do it because of exactly the same reason. And if you look back through time, that's not an unusual thing.
It's happened. Yeah.
Well, I've written down Saints for very similar reasons, but I think with the proviso that if we stay injury-free, reasonably injury-free, I think we'll be able to beat, because we've got the least changes as well.
Yeah.
We've still got a very, very good squad, very strong squad.
Wigan's got a big squad and they can't play everyone.
That's
Can they
ifs.
play 17 players?
That's ifs and buts, that.
So,
Well,
That's like...
They've got a gel as well, but we're going on team on paper, that's what I'm
That's
going
all,
to
that's
finish.
all ifs
all right,
and buts.
let's throw
If my auntie had a cock, she'd be my uncle.
let's throw the Challenge Cup out to you. Gaz has gone with Leeds. Steve, what do you think? Challenge Cup? Anybody
Well, the
going to
Challenge
surprise
Cup
us?
is very
Who
difficult to
surprises?
predict because a lot of it comes down to the draws in the end. But I'm going to go an upset Eddie by saying Leeds.
My God.
Well, I've gone Wigan for the cup. I think they'll have had their blip and they'll get home draws in the cup, and I've gone for Wigan for the cup with their new squad. What do you think, Eddie?
I think with our woeful record in the last 20 years in the Challenge Cup, or 15 years, the law of averages state we have got to win
A cup.
another Challenge Cup. The lack of even finals, never mind just winning it, considering we've only got to win 4 matches.
Yeah.
Is it 4 or is it 3? No.
We've had
it's
some awful
4.
semi-final displays, haven't we?
We start at last 16, so we play that, then the quarters.
We've only got to win 4 games, and when you think, apart from Castleford, we have done absolutely naff all in the Challenge Cup for since 2006.
It was 13 years before the Cas game.
So we're looking at 15 years.
One in, crikey, yeah, one in
No, we won
20.
it. Won it in 21. Saying before that, we won it. It was 13 years before.
One in 18 years.
Yeah,
isn't
so
it?
it was so it's
18,
one.
it was.
So it's 1 in,
17 years.
which is considering you only have to win
I know.
4 matches. So
But we've had tough draws.
I'm going to go Saints. I really, yeah. I think Saints will win the Challenge Cup
We had
every
a
year.
good chance last year. Played the semi-final against Lee and didn't get there.
No, it's because we had some bad injuries, didn't we? That we spoke about earlier.
2 bad injuries and
That was certainly a factor, and the Hardacre try was an outrage.
Outrage.
That was an absolute outrage.
Yeah.
But end of the day, we still should win that game, should we? Because
And our game plan was terrible as well.
it's
Yeah.
as good as they were last year. You know, they're still not on Saints level, Lee, are they?
You can tell which one of us is a rugby league coach, can't you? We're telling up, Novick broke his leg.
Who are you on for the cup?
I think OKR.
Well, good shout.
Yeah, I
good
think
shout.
OKR because they were unlucky last year, and
Don't have
what
to
a
win.
great
I
final
would
it
like to
was.
see that if it's not Saints, actually.
Yeah.
I would
They only
like
have to
great
win 4
play
games as well.
Yeah, you don't have to win 4 games, Eddie. So I think OKR.
This is the problem, Eddie. Because all the other teams only have to win 4 games.
I was going to say, okay, I was an outsider then.
No, you
You
weren't.
can.
No,
You
you
can
weren't.
say it, yeah. We still say
You
it.
always do
Don't
this.
copy off him.
That's why I'm not going with them
Be the
now.
bigger man, Paul. Come on.
I'll go London.
Oh, if they win it, I would love it if they win it.
And he's-
I'm going to write a letter to IMG if they win it.
If Saints turn up this season and play the rugby we know they can play, no team will touch us,
Yeah.
and I'll go Saints on that. No, but if we turn up on Friday night and start taking the 2 after 2 minutes or something stupid like that, or doing 4 drives and a kick, I'll be walking
If
up
we
at
do that,
half
go to London, I'm going home. I'm
So
out
we need 50, 60 points on
We should
Friday
do.
night.
We should
time. That was the old Saints.
Yeah.
Easy.
We have got to destroy them.
Put a marker down, but I can't.
I had a look
can't
at
see it.
London's squad and it looks like they're preparing for the championship.
Well, they should be doing that because they've been given
We've
that.
got no choice, have they?
I thought you were going to say something else. I thought they couldn't prepare for the league.
All the players they've signed
They are
are
not.
championship
They're not going
players.
to be competitive at all. London. There's
There's
not.
no point for London. I think read an article. There's no point them coming out because they know they're pretty much going down next year anyway.
They're not pretty much
They're
going
not
down. They are going
They are
down.
going down.
They're not
well,
protected
if-
against. There's an argument that the promoted team should be protected against relegation to give them a chance.
I agree.
but-
So why are they going to come out, spend big bucks on players
They're not.
when they know they're going straight back down anyway?
Paul, if they win 4 games, they won the Challenge Cup.
And what players are going to join them, knowing they're only there for a year?
Yeah, exactly. All right, the big one, grand final winners. Who's getting the grand final in 2024? Let's start with Darren.
I hate to say it, but I've gone league leaders Saints. I think Wigan, with the squad that they've got, will probably do it again.
Paul. It's gone quiet.
I'd love to say Saints, but again, it all depends what style of play we turn up and play this year because the last few seasons have been awful, I think, to watch.
There's an argument we have to change our way of playing.
We have to. Well, let's go back to the old-fashioned way Saints played, and no team will touch us. That's the frustrating thing about it, because we know we can do it. If Saints play the way they can, then again, there's a good chance we'll be in that grand final. But going off the way Wigan have recruited, I'm looking at Wigan. But if I can outside bet Hull as well, because I really think they'll have a strong season this year, so they'll be knocking on the door of Challenge Cup and the grand final.
Fair enough. Good shout, Steve.
Well, this is where I'm going to go with Saints, because I think winning the grand final is actually an easier task than winning the League with the Shield.
Yeah.
You've just got to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's very
and
true,
if you've got your squad is fit and in form at that time, then you time it right, then you win it. So I think there's a more chance of that than there is of Saints being consistent enough over 6 months to finish top. So I'll go with Saints.
Yeah. Steve, Aidy?
Absolutely same reasoning as Steve, and I'd go as far as say I won't be surprised if it's a Saints Leeds.
Well, you'd like that, wouldn't you, Eddie?
Yeah.
Where's Leeds come from?
Because of that fact of you've only got to finish in the top 5, and credit to you lot before when you was on about they have done quite well on the recruitment leads, haven't they? I can see where you're coming from. I've been educated, and I'm a big enough man to admit that actually made a lot of sense what you was all saying about Leeds before, and it does. And I'm going to go for Saints for the grand final, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Saints and Leeds in there. Like so I think Wigan will finish top, but for the grand final, I'm hoping that they've just run out of steam by then.
Well, Leeds made it in 2022, didn't they? And they got very good that year.
And they were crap.
Still made it.
They were utter crap. Yeah.
Well, I've gone for Saints on for basically the same reason. I think we've got the least changes and we'll have the best shot at it. With the other teams making, I think, a lot of changes. I think we'll get off the mark, and I think we'll be 6 out of 6 to get started. But we'll see where we go. But I fancy us to win the grand final again. Steve, who are you on this one?
Well, I'm Challenge Cup. I'm going for Leeds.
Yep.
I do think Saints will win
Grand final. All right. Okay. All right. Curveball, not curveball, but Man of Steel, an interesting one. Could be could be anybody. You don't have to worry about a club. Who do you think's going to have the sort of season, the stellar season that makes a Man of Steel? I'll start on this one. Providing he gets a good start and he keeps fit, I'm going to say Darryl Clark.
How's it picked this year? Same as
Yeah, it depends on what the rules are.
It's the same way, I think,
change.
The same way, innit? I'm
the
afraid.
same way, it's not changing then.
Same rubbish way.
Same
selecting
mad
everything.
way.
But
Yeah.
basically, you just pick one of the overseas players from one of the lower teams.
Yeah, so that's basically it. A good player in a shit
I
team.
can't even remember who won it last year. Who won it last year?
French.
French.
Yeah.
Like you say, good player in a shit team.
All right, then. Where's your money on?
Well, I can't.
If you had a fiver of my money to put on
I
somebody,
can't bring myself to tip a Wigan player to win it again, so that's out the window. The obvious answer would be Jack Wellsby, wouldn't it? But if you want an outsider, an out there pick, dark horse, Mikey Lewis.
good shout. Yeah. I do like him.
I'll go Jack Wellsby, because he's been knocking on the door the last few years on there, and I think he'll hopefully this year he'll come up with the goods.
Fair enough, Paul.
I think Jack Wellsby, but also Brodie Croft could get it at Leeds again, but it depends how he goes.
I think Wellsby's good enough to stand out in a good team with this ridiculous voting system. But the two, I was going to edge my bets on either Michael Lewis or Brodie Croft.
Yeah.
Again, good player, crap team, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or
Well, a player who's likely to get the top marks in each game for his club because he's the best player.
Because at Saints, Wigan, you've got so many good players in that team.
that's why I don't think a Wigan player will get it this year. They've too many good players.
But it's like the likes of Roby. He's been robbed. How many years has Roby been robbed from winning Man of Steel? You know, it's like
Paul McShane with it
because you got people like Paul McShane at Castleford, and you know he had one good season, and all of a sudden he's Man of Steel.
But he was
you know,
continually the best player in the cast team.
Yeah.
But that's a lower bar, isn't it? So
it's a lower par, you know. So
That whole system is so flawed, though, isn't it? It's easy to vote. If you've got a team with two good players, if your whole game is built around French and Field, it's easy to pick your best two players, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas we've got, when Johnny Lomax never even gets a mention anywhere near Man of Steel awards, and Johnny Lomax is a sensational player, but that's the system. The system's
Steve,
bothered.
you got a favourite Man of Steel?
I have, but the other, from my thing is about the system is you've got what they pick 3 players from each game. Yeah. What about how many times do you see a forward have a good game? Forwards never get mentioned in Man of Steel.
No.
It's so flawed as a everybody who's playing should get a mark for that game. For every single game, they should be totted up that way.
Do you know how they do it? My lad coaches hockey to a high standard, and they do it by the opposing captain after every game.
Selects a player.
Select your man of the match.
That's how you
Or you could have top 3, couldn't you? Top 3.
That's how you how it works in the amateur rugby.
And you have to down a point at the end of it.
Yeah. You always pick. Each team picks the player from the opposition.
Did you pick somebody then?
Brody Croft was going
Going to go Brody Croft. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, that just leaves me to wrap up now with this weekend's fixtures. I don't think we'll do a prediction on Saints and London. Well, there's the whole derby opens the season on Thursday, which should be a cracker. I think I'm looking forward to that.
OKR.
I think OKR will absolutely smoke them.
Yeah.
Even though it's at Hull, innit?
I think by 20 plus.
Yeah, and I hope they do as well. I hope they put it right up the trumpet.
And they sold something like 8,000 tickets or something, so they'll be
Gonna be a
absolutely
big one,
rocking.
yeah, apparently.
They'll be rocking.
Yeah, there'll be windows and cars set on fire and everything.
Which is great to open the season that way with a big derby with a big crowd. That'd
The
be great.
marquee will go in the wind or whatever.
They won't have OKR fans on the second tier this time, will they?
All the Hull fans will switch to the darts at half time.
To be fair, that's the way. I'm looking forward to Thursday. That's how, for me, you should open the season. It should be a derby.
A big
Saints
game,
Warrington.
big game.
I'm not
Yeah.
looking forward to Saints London on Friday. Oh, to be fair, back at last season, I was thinking I need a buzz for next season. And when the fixtures come out into Saints London, I was like, I could quite happily stay at home and watch something else.
Well, all the
Feels
games,
kind of routine, doesn't that one?
I know.
all these games are on Sky in the various different channels at some point, so I don't think your 2 or 3 recording systems are going to work on some of these games.
Well, I think I think the Saints London match should have been taken to Thataway. Tell you the truth.
I'd like that.
Well,
Push
that's a weird thing in London again.
the 5-minute push.
Well, Leeds Salford, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a home win.
Leeds.
Not fancy Leeds, yeah.
Gotta be Leeds.
Lee and Sir Huddersfield, that's a decent game.
Fancy Lee.
That would be one to watch on. That would be a
I'm
decent.
not convinced by Huddersfield. I think they'll struggle. I think Watson will get sacked.
I think, I think Watson's ticking time bomb, isn't he?
I hope that. I think Huddersfield, because as much as I'd ever tried, I'd no way I can bring myself to fancy anything from Lee.
The thing is, Huddersfield this year,
That's for a whole other show, that makes.
Huddersfield have got rid. Last year they had like 4 half-backs, didn't they? So actually now he knows he's spanning the team, which will be interesting for Huddersfield, because last year, like 10, 12 games in, they were still swapping the full-back 6 and 7, 9. They didn't actually know what Watson's favourite team was, so it'll be interesting how they've actually got the 1, 6 and 7, 13, 9, that. See how they get on.
Pretty sure Ian Watson didn't know what his.
I think
That's what I mean, it was wrong.
Ian Watson's too negative for me. And he tries to play that wolf ball style.
Oh, he does.
Without the players to do it.
I think I loved him when he was at Salford. I'll be honest, I think he's become a bit of a jerk since he's been at us. I think he's just tried to be too much of a smart
You were
ass.
nominating him for a Saints job, weren't you? At one
when
point.
when he was at Huddersfield, I thought at Salford, I thought he was incredible.
He went up with Holbrook, didn't he?
Yeah. But I think he just became altogether smart ass.
Wow, that's a sliding doors moment, isn't it?
Really,
Hey, if
yeah.
there was one.
Well, maybe with the same squad, it might have worked out differently, but at Huddersfield, it's not working for me.
But some of them coaches do better with less money to spend, don't they, and lower. Like, look at Paul Rowley. He's doing a fantastic job again at Salford, but with a budget. But would he? If he was in charge of Saints or Wigan, would he have the same effects?
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously, Saints London is the next game, but we all know that it needs to be a cricket score. Whether it will be, I don't know.
Saints by 1.
Drop goal.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
Can you imagine Twitter and Facebook? It's 1 by 1. Oh my god.
It melted and melts.
First job of the season.
Saturday we move to Castleford Wigan. I think that's the earlier kick-off.
Both at the same time, aren't they?
Are they both at the same time?
Different times.
Yeah.
One's on BBC, one's on Sky.
All right.
Wigan and Cass and Catalan and Warrington.
I thought the Catalan match was on earlier.
Do you think Castleford will turn in a surprise here?
No chance.
I hope so, but I can't see it.
Unless Wigan have really got their eye on the
biggest.
the Premier
Is it at
game.
Castleford?
It's at Castleford. I mean, the
They
players
slip that way.
Yeah.
The biggest surprise that'll happen if it's at Castleford is if the bogs are working.
If they've got hot water.
That'll be the biggest surprise.
Where was it you couldn't get a cup of tea?
Huddersfield, Graham.
Huddersfield, we were there,
At the
yeah.
time, it was a Premier League football ground. We couldn't get a cup of tea.
It was snowing and blowing again.
I think we bumped into you men there as well. And there was no hot drinks at all.
Scandalous.
See, that's where it went wrong. Drinking tea be downfall.
There's always pints available.
And then the final game of the season, which could be a season decider in the early stages, Catalan Warrington.
That'll be interesting.
I think
Gotta go Catalan there.
in France,
I'll go Warrington.
Catalan by 10 or so.
It'd be interesting with all the changes, both sides of Catalan especially.
It's not very hot at the moment as well, so Warrington are going to a good time.
Well, it depends. Are Warrington staying over for one night, 2 nights? Are they going for a week? Are they going for season?
If it's anything to do with Sam Burgess, they're doing Sticky Vickies for a week.
Whatever they do, the fans will say they should have done the opposite.
Yeah, exactly that, Steve. Exactly that.
As long as they've got the bucket hats, they'll be fine.
There's a basket case Warrington.
To be doing the melons in,
I'm gonna.
If they're in the last season, though, they won like I think 8 in a row or something. So
Yeah, they did actually,
They could start like that again. You never know.
I think the speed, because they're so quick, I'll actually go out and give a Paul there. I'll go with Warrington because they might just run round them. You don't have to be good if you're quick.
Plus, I don't know how Catalan are going to gel. I think Catalan will come good, but I think it'll take them a couple of weeks.
I think they've had even more changes than Warrington, so I think I'd go for a narrow Warrington win to me.
It's like the halves that
Warrington
concern me. With the halves that concern me with Gallen.
Yeah.
Warrington are already under pressure, aren't they, before the season started?
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I think that's round us up for the night. We'll be back in early March to review what's been happening. And on that note, I'd like to say thanks to Steve on the buttons.
You're welcome.
Thanks to AD, Paul, Darren, and Steve.
Pleasure as always.
See you, chaps.
Thank you for having us.
See you in a month.